Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That is Amin Elhassan. Oddball is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings Pick 6 and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, yeah.
Amin, I have been out all night. I was partying with the Celtics. I was spraying champagne in the locker room. That's how I got these goggles. None of that is true, except that I did stay up late, but not for a cool reason. The Celtics won the championship, and I over the moon, speechless.
I feel like your commitment to the bit needs a little bit more work.
Well... Yeah, it's a good point.
Within seconds, she's like, that's not true at all. I just found these from when I was 15 years old in my parents' house.
Yeah, they're cool. They look pretty legit, right?
I got fooled. I thought they were real when I saw you on Levitard's show earlier today.
I guess I should have kept it going. But I'm very happy, obviously. We have a lot to talk about. We were at the game. I mean, what is obviously the Celtics fan in me has come out full force. As a non-Celtics fan, what were you feeling before the game?
Nothing. I was feeling the impending dread that my prophecy would come true. My prophecy happened before Game 4. As you're walking around, whenever you're in an elimination situation, the number one question media people ask of each other as they see each other in the back hallways or whatever is, what do you think? Is it over tonight? Like, that's the number one question, right?
Right?
I know all you people think, the media wants this and that. Like, we just want to know, like, is it over or not? Like, that's all we want to know. And I said, on Friday, I said, it's over. But I said, knowing these guys, I know what's going to happen. They're going to come out here, and they're going to win convincingly, and we're going to go all the way back to Boston. Said, maybe there's a chance. It's about all the history and all that stuff. And then they're going to get blown out in Boston, thus proving this is an immense waste of time. And it's exactly what happened. An immense waste of time. If they were going to come out and play the way they played, why? I didn't need to get on that extra flight to Boston. I could have just stayed my ass home for the weekend and hung out with my kids and then like rested up and flown to New York comfortably tonight.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm on 8 million planes because the Dallas Mavericks have pride. We're not going to get swept. We're just going to get our ass beaten 5.
I mean, Amin was we were sitting there and Amin kept being like, why are we here? Why are we here? And I was there like crying, like tearing up, being like, this is so beautiful. I mean, I felt this is bizarre to say when the team that you root for is on the verge of a championship. Before the game, I was not nervous. I was not nervous. I was like, right? I'm not lying this time. I was like, all right, they're going to win and this is going to be over.
So you were lying those other times. I just want to make that clear.
When I said I wasn't nervous?
Every time I asked you nervous and you'd say no, but you were nervous because you looked nervous. But last night you didn't look nervous. I did want to point that out.
Thank you. I appreciate that validation. Yeah, I was sort of shocked. I was very calm about it. It was just like a really nice experience. Derrick White, I mean, this was sort of crazy to me because he collided with Derek Lively. Derek on Derek crime here.
Yes.
And everybody at home knew that he chipped his tooth. Here's a picture of Derrick White and his teeth, which look, I mean, he
looks like a cartoon character. You know, like in Looney Tunes when someone gets punched in the face, they got stars for eyes and their teeth are like swinging like saloon doors.
Yes.
That's what his teeth look like.
Yeah, we had no idea. We had absolutely they didn't show it on the Jumbotron, which was sort of surprising to me, don't you think?
No, I don't know. It's weird. Like, Jumbotrons are weird. They're supposed to be like this. They are the greatest bastion of propaganda outside of Washington, D.C. in American society, right? Like, the Jumbotron is like, everything's great. Nothing's bad is happening. Don't worry about anything. My favorite Jumbotron moment of all time was when Steph Curry crossed up Chris Paul so bad he made him touch the ground. Yeah. And this is at LA. This is at the Clippers, right? And so they went to timeout, and the entire crowd, which is a very fiercely Clippers crowd. This is when the Clippers Warriors thing was really, it still felt kind of even. The entire crowd in the timeout began to twirl their fingers like, show the replay. I've never seen that before in my life. And I don't think I'll ever see it again. But yeah, weird, but I guess that's what Jumbotron culture is, that they wouldn't show him feeling vulnerable or whatever.
I just felt like it was sort of it was pretty metal. It was like he was smiling with his teeth chipped, and then he said this. Here, listen to what he said afterwards, Derrick White.
I mean, I'll lose all my teeth for a championship, and so I'll get it fixed, and I'm going to enjoy this one.
Had to be in a lot of pain, the roar from the crowd when he said I would lose all my teeth.
I would say this. In the post-game presser, he told us, like I said, multiple teeth were loose. That sucks. However, chipped tooth, I've got a chipped tooth. The reason you don't know it is because I also have a great dentist, Dr. Badalato in Scottsdale, Arizona. So shout out to Dr. B, Studio B Smiles, for giving me these perfect teeth. But I have a chipped tooth. You hitting your face on the floor hurts more than the actual chipping of the tooth.
But the loose ones.
That out there. The loose ones, that sucks, yeah.
Tough.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Charlotte, there's another thing that happened, which is pretty funny. So, end of the third quarter, there's maybe 4 seconds on the clock. Luka's at the free throw line, and Joe Mazzula, crazy Joe Mazzula, does a quick sub, puts in Payton Pritchard, who, by the way, has only hit one shot in the entirety of the finals, right? Outside of garbage time, excuse me.
Yes.
He comes in, and he goes into this very exaggerated wide leg stance stretch, and you turn and you look to me and you said what?
I mean, I saw Pritchard come in. There were 4 seconds left. He was stretching the way you described. That to me is like a track athlete. That's someone who is there to do one very specific thing, and they are going to try to win at that thing. And I looked at you and I was like, he is in to hit a buzzer beater 3. And you were like, okay. And Al Horford gets a rebound. Pritchard gets it, shoots from, the moon.
Half court, yeah.
It was crazy, and it went in as it was going. I think that was the moment. I think that was the moment where I got the most. I flipped out the most.
Yes, I mean, but I thought you flipped out more because you called it less than. Oh wow, he hit an amazing shot. This was a video I took right after the shot went in.
Oh no.
Charlotte bought that hot dog, and she came back, she said, I want to get a regular hot dog, but then I thought better of it, and I asked for a jumbo hot dog.
I panicked, I said, I panicked, and I got the jumbo one. And that right there, I want everyone to know that is a not planned, not scripted moment. Amin just caught me halfway through a foot-long hot dog. Yeah. And I don't know why my voice sounds like a little mouse, but that's how excited I was.
It was very loud. I'm surprised they cleaned up the audio tremendously. It was incredibly loud in the building, and you were emotional.
When I get excited, I think my voice goes up a register.
Can we compare that shot to LeBron? I don't know what about LeBron we're comparing, but players hit multiple buzzer beaters from 34 plus feet in the same postseason since 96-97, according to Basketball Reference. /Stathead, shout out to y'all. LeBron James and Payton Pritchard. Wow.
I mean,
did not know. I remember Curry had one in 2015 against Memphis where they were like, just don't let him get the ball. And they were actually defending him in the backcourt, and he chucked it and went in and broke their hearts. I thought he had another one that postseason. I guess I was wrong.
Wow. Well, I mean, Payton Pritchard, LeBron James, two guys you definitely hear in the same sentence a lot. Shout out to Pritchard. Also means something that I thought was unbelievably funny was at some point during the game, I think I blacked out at points, so I just don't really know. They showed a movie trailer for The Instigators with Casey Affleck, and Matt Damon. And it was the most Boston thing I've ever seen. They're like in Gloucester wearing like fisherman stuff. They're on boats. And Matt Damon is like too fancy now for you to really believe it. And I think I turned to you after the crowd went nuts. I turned to you after this like action-y heist thriller trailer. And I said, I would run through a wall. So I guess it worked.
Yeah. No, it's funny because at first it's just Affleck and Damon on the screen. And I said, oh, they couldn't afford to get Ben to do a promo for this game. But then I'm like, oh, no, there's a reason why it's these two in particular, because they got a movie coming out. So I guess catch it whenever it comes out in movies. I don't know why I'm doing an ad for them. Charlotte, we were in the tunnel as the game was winding down, and then it began to sink in for you. This is real. This is really happening. Let's take a listen to Charlotte with 3 minutes left.
I don't really have.
This is reality.
I don't really have the words. I already cried upstairs before.
You cried?
I teared up.
She's really tearing up. I can see it in her eyes.
It's just very
They're
cool.
welling up with
Sue me.
precipitation. What is this salty discharge?
There's onions in here. Catering.
By the way, that chuckle in the background, that was the Hall of Famer Jackie McMullen.
Jackie, I was a little embarrassed. Afterwards, I was like, oh God, Jackie McMullen just saw me in like the least professional moment of my life.
I want to point out that, like, as we're waiting, and those 3 minutes took forever, periodically, Charlotte would either gasp or Juju Gotti, who was with us as well, would just scream. And I was like, what happened? What happened? And they're like, oh, that's right. You guys are happy that, like, I kept forgetting, like, oh, this was like an emotional moment for you guys. Because for me, it was like, all right, when's that shuttle leaving? I'm going to get back to the hotel.
Amin's like, okay, get me out of Boston. I'm ready to go home. This was a waste of my time. But we did go to the post-game pressers. You didn't scoot out before that. I was surprised, Amin, that I found myself agreeing with Joe Mazzula a lot. Usually his press conferences are about like jiu-jitsu or UFC or Brazilian soccer, or he's just like not answering questions, or, you know, he's a weird dude. We've said this, you know, shout out Joe Mazzula. We're the same age. You won an NBA championship, apparently by my outfit. I did too. Yeah. I liked what he said here. Can we play this?
Winning is just as dangerous as losing if you don't handle it well. And I think our guys handled winning the right way by, you know, whether we won or lost, we just moved on to the next game.
What I will say here is I think that this is what I've been trying to say throughout the finals, how I thought all year they prepared to be in this position where they were up and not blow it, because they have before. So I feel like he has Joe Mazzula is apparently an absolute wizard at keeping an even keel and keeping his team in that headspace until they can actually celebrate a win.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing, Charlotte, was the first question he was asked, I don't even remember what the question was, but in the answer, he started praising people who weren't there. Take a listen to this.
The most important thing, something that's really been going through my mind throughout this process, is you can't lose sight of the people that came before us. I want to make sure every person that's worked for the Celtics, that's played for the Celtics, that didn't win, knows that their work and what they've done hasn't gone unnoticed, or it doesn't play a part in where we're at today.
Charlotte, I'm not someone who loves to ask questions in post-game pressers. Most of the time, I just let everyone else, the people covering the teams, do a much better job. But every once in a while, like, I get a question I'm really hot on, and raised my hand, and Celtics PR was like, okay, I got you. And then they're like, final question somewhere else. Right. My question was going to be, who's he talking about specifically?
I wish that they had called on you, because I would love to know. I think obviously Mazzula took this team over. This team was like a thoroughbred horse, and they were like, they were like, you can ride this perfect, beautiful horse, just like, please don't break its legs. And he said, okay, and he did it. And I feel like that was a nice acknowledgement of the fact that, like, hey, he was like, I got here 2 years ago. Like, I haven't been in the trenches the way that a lot of people have. Like, I immediately thought of Marcus Smart, who, I'm not gonna lie, it's broke my heart a little bit that imagining him watch this. I mean, I immediately flash back to 2022, Amin, when, you know, the Celtics lost, obviously, and it was, you know, I was reporting on the game, so it wasn't, I didn't have the full fandom thing. I was like, we got to push that out of my head. But there was this like sinking feeling where I was like, this sucks. And then being on the other side of that last night was phenomenal. And I just thought, you know, I was following Marcus Smart out of the press conference in 2022. He was shuffling down that long hallway. It's carpeted. He had green Nikes on. He had his green hair, and he was like crying a little bit. And my heart just broke. And so that's the business of sports. That's the sort of the brutal part of it. And I liked that Mazzula shouted those people out, even though he was probably talking about Ime Udoka.
Isn't it funny? Like 2 years ago, we were in the same building at the same time. We didn't know each other, and you were somber and watching a sad Marcus Smart while I was getting drunk with Leandro Barbosa and Steph Curry and G-Eazy. Okay. Probably a couple of 100 feet from each other. It's amazing.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Who do you think had the better time?
I think G-Eazy probably had the best time. Yeah. My favorite part, I was standing next to Steve Kerr's son, Nick, and he elbows me and he says, look who my dad's talking to. He's like, oh, it's G-Eazy. He's like, he has no idea who he's talking to. And so then after we walk up to him, hey, Steve, who are you talking to? You had a shot with that guy. Who is that? And he says, some sort of musician or something. I don't know. Like,
feels very
the old
Steve
man
Kerr.
Doesn't know.
You saw another
culture.
guy who'd been hanging around the Celtics and is no longer. What did you see?
I saw Grant Williams. Grant Williams walking into the arena in the tunnel downstairs, and he said, "What's up?" And I said, "What's up?" And I'm in my mind, I'm like, "Yo, why are you here?" But like afterwards, we saw photographic evidence, and we could throw that up right now, that Grant Williams was in the locker room after the game, congratulating the guys. He's there with Brandon Miller and Harry Giles as well, which leads me to believe, Charlotte, what if this is like the origin story for the Charlotte Hornets winning the title like 5 years from now? And like when they hoist the title, we'll talk about like, yo, Brandon Miller and Grant Williams was in the locker room, and that's when they got the sniff of champagne, like, we need to have this.
Yeah. You think he would have been in the Mavs locker room too if the Mavs had won because he was on both teams?
Well, no, because they would have still been down 3-2 in the series. So
no, but I mean, like if the Mavs had won.
Oh, at the Mavs had won? No, because they would have killed him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not a great relationship.
Not a great relationship. We're gonna get to the second half of the show here, but quickly before we do, I feel like, to me, this Celtics win, this whole season. Viewers of Oddball know, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it didn't drop. And I think that, yes, you can talk about the ease of their path through the playoffs. Obviously, I also think that this was a team that overcame a lot of its demons and did not fall apart in places it has fallen apart in the past. And I think that, fandom aside, just as a fan of basketball, it's a pretty cool thing to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown do this together in a way that was the biggest criticism. They can't win together. They did. And it's pretty cool when you see people succeed after losing in very high-profile situations.
You know what's funny, Charlotte, and I'll put a bow on all of this. When the Celtics won in 2008, that was the longest drought in playoff history, it's championship history for the Celtics organization. And it felt like it. I remember I was like, yo, these guys never win. Like, oh my God, they finally won one, right? This was the second longest drought in Celtics championship history. And it felt like it went by so fast. 2008 doesn't feel that far back. And maybe that's because they went to the finals in 2010 and they went to the finals in 2022. So, like, they've been flirting in a way that they hadn't flirted in between 86 and 08. But, man, I'm telling you, it feels like it was just like yesterday that 08 won. And now you got Paul Pierce and Eddie House was in the house, and Ray Allen was in the house, and all these other former Celtics legends were there. Paul wasn't there, I should say, but just think about all the guys who were there. He was there in spirit, for sure.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP, Big Al Horford, and a lot more. Stick around. Welcome back to Oddball. We have to talk about the finals more because I don't know if you'll ever be able to get me to stop. Amin, what do we have? Tell me what we have left to talk about.
I'll tell you what we got. We haven't talked about Jaylen Brown winning Finals MVP. How about that?
Yes.
This is after, of course, winning Conference Finals MVP. He received 7 of the 11 votes, in case you were wondering. So, no, it wasn't close. Charlotte, were you shocked that Jaylen Brown was, in fact, Finals MVP?
No, I think I said to you right before they announced it, I was like, I will be shocked if it isn't Jaylen Brown. I think he showed up. The biggest thing about Jaylen the biggest criticism was like he doesn't show up in big moments, and he showed up in every big moment. Tatum might have led in certain stats, but I think Brown was consistent in those moments when they really needed the edge. And honestly, something that I think is pretty cool is it was a whole thing when Jaylen Brown didn't make All-NBA. We talked about it. We thought he should have. Someone asked him. He said, I don't really care or think about it. And then he went on to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP. And I think that's just a pretty badass way of saying, like, F you, basically.
Well, and I think, to be clear, he was the most consistent Celtic, certainly in the last 2 rounds, maybe in their entire playoffs. But no one played night in, night out as consistently well as Jaylen Brown on both sides of the floor. I thought Jason Tatum had a lovely all-round series, right? And I thought in particular game 2, a game where he didn't shoot well, his offense was critical in terms of creating everything else for everybody else, Drew Holiday, Derrick White, et cetera, et cetera. But his game 1 was objectively doo-doo. And so, like, to me, that was the difference between the two of them. They both played poorly in game 4. And then game 5, Tatum played great, but Brown was his usual steady self. And I thought, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought everyone watching felt like that. I know one of my buddies, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to get in trouble for saying this or whatever, but he points out he went game by game through the series, and a lot of Jason Tatum's positive moments offensively occurred when the Celtics were kind of winning already, right?
Yeah.
So not necessarily those swing plays. And again, we're splitting hairs. They're two great players. But yeah, Jaylen Brown, certainly finals MVP. I don't think either of us have a problem with that. Nor do we have a problem with Al Horford, Charlotte.
Oh, thank God. Al finally won. He's 38. I don't know. I'm very happy for Al, but I think what made me even happier was how happy the other players were for Al. Like everybody in the press conferences was like, this was for him. Obviously, they're going to say that no matter what, but I really felt they meant it. I also feel, that Al Horford is an athlete who, when he says like playing in Boston means more, or like I love the pressure and I fed on it, and this city is so special to me. A lot of people can say that. Al Horford and his family genuinely love it and love what that organization has been to him. So I'm really happy for him that he got to do it there at the Garden. So
the two things that he said in the press conference. One was when he sat down with Wick Grosbeck and C. Pagliuca for the original meeting to, become a Boston Celtic.
In 2016.
In 2016. He's distracted because all he could do was stare at the ring on his finger, that 2008 ring. The other thing he said that stuck with him from that meeting to this day was that Danny Ainge said, you could go to another city, you might win a championship in another city. There's nothing like winning a championship in the city of Boston for this organization. And he said, that stuck with me for the whole time. And it was kind of like a big motivating factor for him. Also, for every yin, there's a yang. Because Al Horford now has won a championship, that means the active record holder for most playoff games played without an NBA championship is James Harden, which is pretty impressive when you consider Chris Paul had 4 extra years in the league. Starting in 2005 versus Harden 2009, and Harden still has more games under his belt.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I also before we put a button on some of the Celtics stuff, the fact that Brown and Tatum did it together, I think is, did it together with Al. Like it really was a team win in a way that they talked about it. And there's a lot of stuff you could say was, too earnest from the Celtics or not sexy or not funny, but like they won as a team and it worked. And that's pretty cool.
All right, Charlotte, we're into the last 90 seconds of the show here. The Mavericks, we haven't talked about them at all. How did you feel about their performance last night?
They just, I don't know that I've ever seen a team just like give up or like not try like that. Have you? In an elimination championship game.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say I think a lot of people say, when the league got big. The whole night, I said that it feels like they're playing a January game before a back-to-back with Milwaukee. Like, they got to fly to Milwaukee tonight to catch the second half of the back-to-back. They just didn't bring the sense of urgency. Derrick White's face is messed up because he was diving for loose balls, as was every other Celtic for the 50-50 balls, where the Mavericks were kind of like, whatever. It just didn't have the, hey, we're about to get eliminated desperation for urgency. All right. Because it's never too early to play this game, Charlotte. DraftKings odds for next year. All right, you got to make one bet right now. C's are favored at plus 290, Nuggets plus 800, Mavs are 6th favorite at plus 1,000, along with OKC, Mini, Milwaukee as well. Who do you got?
I am taking the Celtics. I'm such a sicko that before the Celtics even won last night, I was like, is this the next dynasty? My column. Yep. Like, I'm broken, I'm taking the Celtics. Who are you taking?
Look, Tatum is 26 years old. We marveled at that in the press conference. It seems ridiculously young. Having said that, I think if they had played the Nuggets would have smacked that ass because Jokic, they would have no answers. Orford, you're 100 years old. You would have been 100 years old without a ring. And, by the way, Porzingis, imagine how much you would have heard if you had to guard that big Serbian over there. No way, man. No way. Nuggets.
Okay, the Celtics won. The Nuggets weren't in it. Oh, goodbye. That's all the time we have.